Hi everybody, this is Laura with Lonely Pines Farm. It is a gloomy Sunday here in the Pacific Northwest. We've got some football on the TV. Jerry's in the other room. Thatcher, what are you doing? Hi. Thatcher, meet your adoring fans. Meet the public. Oh, isn't he so sweet? Anyway, there you go. Jerry's in the kitchen whipping up some meatballs, putting some ribs on the smoker, so I thought I'd pop in here for a little bit and talk to you guys about trees. When we have done our research of all of the like 5-10 things I wish I knew when I started a homestead, pretty consistently the two bits of information that we've held on to is I wish I would have planted trees sooner, and I wish I would have built a greenhouse sooner. So greenhouse is definitely coming, but what we're tackling sooner than that are our trees. So we immediately got to work as soon as we got the property and got settled in. We started talking about, of course we want to grow absolutely everything under the sun. Who doesn't? But we wanted to get a solid list of what are our, for sure things that we want, trees that we want to tackle this year. I mean, it takes 5 to 10 years sometimes to get fruit depending on what you're planting. So, the growth and then the fruiting, and then it's going to take time. We wanted to listen to the advice of people who have been there before and make sure that we plant those sooner than later. So we have a list, we've compiled our list of everything that we're going to for sure order this year. Jerry did a dry run shopping. I came home from work one day and he's like, I have a cart full of things for us to order, and it ended up being like $500 worth of trees and fruit and stuff. And they were all things that we wanted. But it was just, he was very impatient about, he wanted to get like the really mature trees that cost like $50 a pop. So not quite that expensive, but he was definitely rushing it a little bit. So we've kind of talked things over. We've got our list. I have some notes. We've got our list of what we want to get, and we are going to kind of have to, be patient. So there may be like 1 or 2 where we get something that's a little bit more advanced. But I think for the most part, we're probably going to have to get, the little sticks and just wait. So patience isn't one of my strong traits, but it's part of homesteading, so I shall try. Anyway, so what we've narrowed down, and so this is we just kind of wanted to share with you guys what our plans are for the farm. We haven't put it in our order yet, but we should. I know some of these things you don't always plant them in spring, so we may be off seasons for some of these, but this is just kind of what we're thinking. And if any of you guys are homesteaders out there, or you have your own little orchards, we'd love feedback on the things that we've chosen, if you would recommend, or if there are problems that you've come across. So anyway, I'll get into the list here. So for this year, we have narrowed down. Our final answer is blueberries. Jerry has always loved blueberries. I like them. They're not my favorite, but they're like his favorite. So we are definitely getting a handful of blueberry bushes. We haven't figured out exactly where we're going to go yet, where they're going to go yet. I don't know. We'll probably only just maybe like 3, I don't know, this year. Eventually hoping to get more, but at least a couple this year. Peaches was something that we didn't jump out immediately to us as something that we wanted to grow, but as we've kind of revisited the tree discussion, the fruit discussion multiple times, kind of come out as a front runner. So we're both kind of now like, yeah, of course, definitely, we're growing peaches. So didn't think that one was coming, but I would love the idea of some canned peaches. Peach jelly, peach jam. That sounds really good. So peach tree. And then lastly for the fruit, we're kind of keeping it small. For the fruit, we're thinking pear. We haven't figured out what kind of pear. If we want to do like a Asian or a Bartlett or a Bosc. But we do want to get a pear tree. We had a pear tree in Shoreline. The first year that I moved in with Jerry, it fruited. But we weren't quite sure how pears worked. I didn't realize that you like pick them firm and then they ripen off the vine, kind of. So I was out there and I was like, they're not ripe, they're hard, they're not ripe. And then I didn't pick them and things got away from me. We weren't really into gardening that first year. So that was the year he introduced me to camping. That was every other weekend we were in the woods camping because I absolutely loved it. So there was no gardening that year. And then in the subsequent years, it kind of got this like rusty black spots all over the fruit and the leaves and the flowers and stuff. We tried to look it up, couldn't quite nail down what it was, but it didn't really fruit after that. So it was poorly taken care of, and we could kind of see whatever it was on the pear tree, and then was also on the plant that's branches touched the pear tree, and then on the other side there were branches that touched, and those got disease as well. So it was something that was getting passed through on the property, but never quite figured out what it was. Anyway, so we didn't really get to take advantage of our pears. So for fruit that we are ordering, we're looking at blueberry bushes, peach trees, and pear trees. We also want to get some nuts going. You know, you got the fruit. They talk about the long-term stuff. The fruit, the nuts, and the olives. We kind of crossed off olives because I don't really like them, and it'd be hard to grow here in Zone 8. And, you know, Jerry is okay with them, but mostly just when they're stuffed with garlic. So we cross those off. But we did want to do fruit and nut. So for nut, we kind of wanted to keep trees that weren't massively huge. If I remember correctly, I think we crossed walnut off the list because I think those trees get really huge. And if I remember correctly, these are a little bit more in the manageable range. But we wanted to get almonds because we do love almonds, you know, almond crusted pork chops, snacking on almonds, and so we love almonds. And hazelnuts as well. So Jerry, every time I bring up Nutella, Jerry says, I hate Nutella. And I was like, no, you don't hate Nutella. You hated Nutella when we first met because the only time you'd ever had it was toast with peanut butter and Nutella, which I don't really like it that way either. But I started to make like, what did I make? I made Ferrero Rocher knockoff cookie, little candy cookie balls that had Nutella in them, and those were delicious. I think I've put it on maybe his ice cream and he really liked it. I did like a Nutella cocoa that he was a fan of. So now every time he still says, I hate Nutella. And I'm like, you hated Nutella. You're kind of on board with Nutella now. Let me remind you, sweetie. Anyway, but you know, hazelnut would be a really fun nut. We could make our own Nutella, you know, a lot of good desserts. You know, it's a sweeter nutty. It's a sweeter nut, so it lends itself really well to desserts and things like that, so I thought that would be fun as well. So that's our list for the year. We're doing blueberries, peaches, pears, hazelnuts, and almonds. Those may sound obscure, but I forgot to run it back to go through what we already have on the property, so we're kind of filling in gaps at this point. So what we already have is we already have 2 apple trees. One is a like large sweet apple. One is a like smaller, more firm apple. That's not a crab apple, but, and I'm not sure the exact varieties. People who sold us the property weren't sure of the exact varieties either. So we've got 2 apple trees. We have a cherry tree in the middle of the yard. You know, we showed up at the end of the season, so we want to give all of these, there's a cherry and a plum tree. Didn't get to taste a cherry, or maybe one. And then the plum, I swear the plum was the size of a cherry. Like, it was small. I tried one and I was like, I thought it was a cherry. I'm like, wait a second, that doesn't taste right. And then Jerry tried one and it tasted like a plum, but there was like almost no flesh on it. It was all pit. So I'm not sure if that's just a type, or we're thinking they're all terribly overgrown, not managed. They need to be fertilized. So we're wondering if that is playing a part of it as well. But we want to give the cherry tree and the plum tree another year, to see kind of how they fruit, how they taste, if we can get them to kind of improve, and if not, then we may end up buying some. But I would like to give them some time to really see what they do. We showed up at the end of this, moved in at the end of the season. So we got apple, cherry, plum. We already have blackberries surrounding the property, like invasive blackberries. We're going to have to get on top of them kind of blackberries. Sorry, cat distraction. What are you doing? So we already have tons of blackberries. I'd love to get into blackberry wine next year. Well, probably won't happen this coming year, but the woman who lived here before us talked about it, and it sounded like a really good idea. So I'd like to get into that at some point. At the very least, you know, we're picking and preserving. So we've already got blackberries. We have a few raspberry plants that we didn't steal, that we dug up and brought from Shoreline. And we're hoping, you know, we want to be patient with those. I'd really rather not spend money on more of those plants. So once we find a home for them, they're in a container right now, like 6 little stems all bundled together. Once we find a home for them, we'll just be patient and wait for them to grow. And then we've got Strawberries. We brought some strawberry starts from Shoreline, so we've got a whole bed there that's devoted with little strawberries. So we're not sure if they're just the one-time harvest or if they're ever bearing, so we do want to give those some time as well. They'll get established this year, and we can really start to take care of them and pay attention to when they fruit. We also have a currant plant that we got from our neighbor in Shoreline, and then we dug up before we left. I made sure that I left no plants behind in Shoreline. I was digging up bulbs, I was digging up plants, I was digging up everything we could take. Nothing goes to waste. So we have a currant plant that hopefully will have lived through the winter. You know, it looks like sticks now, but I don't really know much about them, so I'm hoping to get that a permanent home and let it flourish. And then I also have a lingonberry plant that I bought at the Seattle Flower Garden Show that I went to with my mom a year ago, 2 years ago? A year ago, probably. But I got two. I'm pretty sure one of them died, so I may have to get another one. I remember them saying get two different kinds for cross-pollination. But at least the one's fruiting right now. It seems to fruit in the winter. I know very little about some of these plants that we have, obviously. So if you know about lingonberries, let me know. But it seems to be fruiting in the winter, and if I can just keep it alive, eventually I'll get a secondary one to help with it. So yes, we have apple, cherry, plum, blackberry, raspberry, strawberry, currant, and lingonberry already on the property. We are getting blueberries, peaches, hazelnut, almonds, and pears this year. And then, oh, God, and I totally forgot. So we got an Arbor Day Foundation survey, which we've gotten in years past in Shoreline. And they're like, if you answer this survey and give us a little donation, we'll send you a ton of trees. And obviously we didn't have space for those in Shoreline, but we do out here. So just this morning, I did the survey and sent them, a $20 donation. And they are going to send us two crepe myrtles, which they get about 10 to 25 feet high. I don't have to get through the technicals. That was our notes for Jerry, but they're basically a beautiful flowering tree / bush. These are all flowering local native plants. So we get 2 crepe myrtles, 5 American redbud trees, and 5 dogwood trees that they're going to be sending to us. So that's 12 trees total, on top of the fruit trees and stuff that we're putting in. But we do have a lot of, we're right on the highway, and there are still some spots where we'd like to put up some visual blockers. There are some invasive plants that were here before that we want to kind of put something a little more purposeful there, and then tear those out so they're not we don't like things close to the foundation. There's a few things that we want to get out, but they nicely block the highway right now, so we don't necessarily want to tear them out immediately. There's just some odd tree placement. There's trees really close to the shop. The property kind of has this U shape of like hidden land by the highway that you don't really see until you go out into the field. And yes, it is nice to have the surprise, but it's just weird in terms of like, I don't like that if we put animals over there, we wouldn't be able to see them. It's kind of odd to access. You kind of have to like walk through some bushes to get to them, to get to the area. So I would kind of like to push the tree line. We have like a nice tree line right by the property. We've got 2, 3, I don't know what kind of trees they are, but they're big. And then behind it, we've got this very thick, tall, shrubby kind of thing that blocks the highway nicely, and so since we can't really continue that, because I don't want to buy those trees and we have other trees coming, we're thinking maybe like a pink and white, the redbuds and the dogwoods should be pink and white plants. So we're thinking maybe alternating those down along the highway so that eventually we can tear out the trees that are closer to the shop to give us more space and to be able to kind of see the whole property. It would be nice to be in the house and be able to see the far corner by the entryway. And then the crepe myrtles, I'm thinking we may end up kind of working into the landscape a little bit. We want to make sure we don't block too much sun though. So we've got 12 trees coming already. The 5 kinds of trees that we would like to order, and then the stuff that's already on the property. And then we've got a few things that we still are very high on our list, but probably aren't going to get to this year. We made like a year to a next year list. Asparagus. Jerry is like over the moon at the idea of asparagus, and I like it too. I like it a lot. It just seems like it takes a lot of time and it takes up some ground space. So we probably won't get to it this year, but just because we're still putting in our one major bed. We've got like a couple small raised beds, but we're putting in our one, like Jerry calls it, a field. So I think we need to get a little more garden space going around the property before we can do asparagus. But that's definitely high on the list. grapes. I love wine. So I want to do all sorts of fruit wine, and I would love to do actual grape wine. So Jerry was looking at like a good table grape and then like a Cabernet grape. So it'd be really cool to make our own actual grape wine, but I plan on making blackberry wine and all the wines I can get my hands on. So, but eventually we will get to grapes in the few coming years. Elderberry, Jerry's not sold on it, but I know it's a really powerful medicinal drug in terms of fighting colds, and I know there's a lot of other great stuff around it as well. I'm still brushing up on all my medicinal things, so now that I have a bed that is going to be my medicinal bed, I'm very excited that I can plant all the little herbies that I want in my designated bed. But I do want to get elderberries. Probably won't get to it this year, but next year. And then my favorite, most exotic thing is I came across a blue Java banana, also known as an ice cream banana, years ago, and it has stuck in my mind. I want to grow it so bad. So it is a banana with a slight vanilla ice cream taste. It is hardy. It's cold hardy. Down to zone 8, which is the zone that we're in. So we may need to kind of, if it's a harsh winter, we may need to like wrap him up in a little blankie and stuff and keep him protected. But how incredible would it be to grow bananas in the Pacific Northwest, bananas on the Olympic Peninsula? I'm like, maybe that's our niche. Maybe we become the weird people who grow bananas where nobody else grows bananas. And even without the selling part of it, just to have a banana that tastes like ice cream, it sounds really good. So that's probably the one that I'm most excited about, but yeah, it's gonna be next year. It's a little too exotic to try this first time around. So that's in years to come. We definitely still want grapes, asparagus, and a blue Java banana. And I'm sure there will be more things that will come up along the way. But that's just kind of a general rundown of where we're at on some of the longer term fruits and trees and plans that we have for the property. So we're hoping to put in a fruit tree order here that is not $500 very soon. I'm optimistic that we only have 5 things that we're picking out now and putting some things on the back burner. So we're hoping to put that order in soon along with all of our seeds. Now is the time to be ordering seeds, and we got to get on that. So yeah, thanks for stopping by today. As I mentioned, if you've grown any of these before and you have either like a recommendation, or if it's, oh God, don't grow that, or, make sure to think about this, definitely leave those in the comments below. We want all the information that we can get. Point me towards your videos that talk about, specific varieties of plants. Because we want to make sure that we do this right. I mean, we get kind of one time to do this. So we'll try to keep you updated as we go along. We'll make sure that we share with you guys when we get them planted, and maybe finalize locations a little bit more. So we're still kind of up in the air on where a few things are going to land, kind of watching where our sun is on the property. Thanks so much for stopping by, guys. I hope you have a great day. Be sure to like and subscribe below. Find us on all the social media platforms, and have a great day. Go Seahawks!